You can't hear. It won't echo, but right? Okay, so then no problem. So PDF. Okay, no problem. 6, that means the ordering will not be. Six is there are, okay. This is both English 1 and 2 together. See, and it has like a duplicated copy. It says 1. நான் ஏன் அக்கௌண்ட் வந்து சைன் இன் பண்ணலாமா? Where is that other account? Yeah, here, no? Add another account. Is not there. சரி, அப்படின்னா அந்த டேஷ்போர்ட் கூட செக் பண்ணி பாரு, இன்கேஸ் அது அவைலபிள் இல்லைன்னு அது ஆட் பண்ணணும். 6 நான் பார்க்கவே இல்லையாங்க. Why are they asking me verification? Oh, it's a different computer. Yeah, it's me. Phone number கேட்குறீங்க. Okay. 00817. I think I should just keep that laptop here. Anyway, it is not doing anything with it. It's there in my profile. This one only, right? There is echo. I told you we'll have to switch this. I can hear it already. I don't switch this off, no. They can definitely hear, maybe very faintly, but still there will be that echo coming in. Okay. Share screen. Share screen panni. It is still? No. This is on a tab, right? In a different screen, no? Sorry, this is the whole screen. Okay. Recording, huh? Yeah. Recording. Check. Okay. Guys, you can hear me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry for the trouble. We have a network outage on the campus. Okay. So we're going to discuss tense and agreement today. Basically, we are going to mostly talk about agreement. Okay. So tense not as much because I assume that most of us are well versed with that, except for maybe a few places where you could find it a little difficult to understand what exactly the meaning of those tense forms would be. For example, something like a future perfect continuous, or something like a difference between a present perfect and a past perfect. Something of that sort could be a little bit of trouble. Otherwise, mostly it should be okay. Okay. Those hurdles you can clear if you read a bit on that. Just make a note of how the lectures explain it. And more than looking at the explanation part, you need to look at the explanation part of the sentences that are discussed. This is for tense that I'm talking about, right? A lot of what you see in the English tenses may not exactly translate to how we understand tenses in our languages, because for us, it's the clarity is much better because we have a very, we morphologically, if you look at our languages, we are very rich, right? We have very good, we have too many morphemes which can do the job, right? But English is not like that. It's a little bit limited when it comes to showing the exact time differences and all that. Because in English, more than using the grammatical tense forms, a lot of time related activities or time references are also taken up by adverbial time adverbials, right? So time adverbials means basically the adverbs of time, right? Words like before, after, yesterday, today, tomorrow, very soon, free, never, ever, seldom. These are all categorized as time adverbials, right? The last ones being frequency adverbs. So in all languages, even in our languages, we do use time adverbials, but even without those time adverbials, it's easy for us to communicate the time differences very finitely. English being influenced by a lot of other languages in the course of its development, the tense aspect is a little bit limited, right? Limited in the sense, it's a little difficult if you're not a native speaker to exactly understand what those coinages could be. But of course, you don't have to know that much also, right? As long as you're able to differentiate between the past, present, future, that should be more than enough, right? So we're not going to take up like a, a full-fledged discussion, not launch a full-fledged discussion on the tense. In fact, I want to focus more on the agreement part. I still titled it as tense and agreement because grammatically speaking, when you look at English sentences, people always confuse the markers of agreement as that of tenses. And this particularly happens in sentences that are formed in present tense, right? So if you have, a sentence like, say, she lives. Okay, she lives in Germany. Okay, for example, if this is your sentence, right? What is the tense of this sentence? She lives in Germany.
Simple present.
Simple present tense, right? And what is the marker of tense here? How do you know that this is simple present tense? What part of the sentence, it could be a word, it could be simply a morpheme, right? Something
Lives.
like a suffix. Sorry, what is it?
Lives.
Lives. Okay, so if that is the case, then let me give you another example. I live in Germany, for example, right? So if this is the sentence, then what is the tense for this sentence? I live in Germany. Which tense is this?
Simple present.
Simple present again, right? And which part of it tells you that this is in simple present?
Live.
Live. Okay. So between she lives in Germany and I live in Germany, we've decided that lives and live is what is telling us that this is in simple present tense, right? But then there is a difference in both of them. Why should that be the case? One is lives and the other is live, both in simple present tense. So do they have like separate markers? What do you think is the marker of present tense in she lives in Germany? Is the whole of lives the marker or is only a part of it the marker? What do you think? What is your understanding? Is the whole verb live or lives showing you that the sentence is in present tense, or do you think there is a part in that sentence or in that particular word which tells you that the sentence is in simple present tense?
Whole sentence.
Whole sentence cannot tell you. Usually in English, the tense is marked on the verb, right? So verb is the one which will tell you whether the given sentence is in, it talks you about the tense of the sentence. Only verb has that capacity in English. In our languages, we can use other methods, but in English, mostly it's the verb that marks the tense. So my question is simple. I'm asking in lives, Which part of lives tells you that the sentence is present tense?
Live, ma'am. Live.
What marker in live? Live is a verb that we know. Live is a verb. Does the S added to it tell you that it is simple present tense?
No, ma'am.
No. So what does it do then? So what is telling you that it is a simple present tense? You say live, lived, lived, right? So V1 is live, past tense form is lived, and then past participle, which I don't know why we should talk about. Let's say will live, lived, and will live. Okay. So clearly, in past tense and in future tense, you have a marker, right? In future tense, you have will as the marker. In past tense, again, you have ed forms as the suffix which acts as the marker. Or in certain cases, it could be t and also, based on whether you're talking about a regular or irregular verb. But in this case, you do not, right? So keep in mind, in simple present tense, the marker for present tense is 0. There is nothing in the sentence that will show you the marker of the present tense. It is 0, right? So then the question is, what is this S? Why do you say I live in Germany? She lives in Germany. So third person pronoun, you use lives, not live, right? So I live, we live, you live, he, she, it lives, they live, right? So what is this S then? This S is not a marker of your present tense. In simple present tense, in English, we do not have any marker. The S that you see with lives is basically the agreement marker. Okay. That S is basically the verb agreeing with the singular subject she. The moment you change the subject to plural they, it becomes live. Right? So here is where you see the actual change, not in the tense. So as simple present tense, there is no marker. The S that you see along with lives, the suffix s that you see with lives is basically an agreement mark, right? This happens a lot in English sometimes, and particularly in the case of simple present tense, right? A lot of people will mistake this sir as a marker of simple present tense, but that's not the case. This is an agreement marker, okay? So, okay, now that we've come to agreement, right? What is agreement? What do we mean by, there are several names to this. People use several technical terms, but we keep it very simple. We call it the subject verb agreement or the subject verb concord, okay? What is the subject verb agreement? What is like the basic principle of subject verb agreement? What is this agreement about? That, yeah, go ahead, Varun. You wanted to say something?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So the basic principle of subject verb agreement goes very simple. It says the verb of the sentence must agree with the subject. Okay, it's not subject should agree with the verb. The verb must agree with the subject of the sentence in number, gender, and there are 3 things: number, gender, and person. Right? NPG, we call them the 5 markers. So 5 features. NPG, right? 3 things. This is the universal subject verb agreement, right? I'm not talking about English per se. In all languages, agreement, most of the languages, again, I can't say all because there are languages without agreement, right? Some languages don't have to follow this agreement pattern. Examples could be, say, a language like Odia or a language like Malayalam. Both of them don't have agreement, so they don't have to bother about this. But in English, there is an agreement, but there is no agreement on gender, right? NPJ, let me just write it down. You have N, then you have N is basically number. Okay, number. What is number? Singular, plural. Okay, that is about N. Then you have P, right? P is what? Person. And person in English, basically it is first, second, and third. Right? First, second, third person. And then the last one is G. Gender stands for gender. And by gender, this is masculine, feminine. Right? In English, we have only 2, but there are languages which have more than that. Okay. Now, what we need to take care of here is look at what your language is sensitive to. So English is sensitive to number, English is sensitive to person, but English is not sensitive to gender, which means your verb endings or your inflections on the verb are not going to change based on the gender of your subject, right? Hindi does, right? So what do I say? Raju घर जा रहा है और लता घर जा रही है, right? So the verb marks the gender. Depending on your gender differences of the subject, the changes are marked on the verb. But that's not the case with English. English doesn't mark gender. But English definitely marks the number and person. Your verb will show inflections. It will show changes in its form based on the changes on your number of the subject and the person of the subject, right? So that's all is subject verb agreement. The verb needs to agree with the number and the person of the subject. This is for English, okay? Of course, the rules will change based on what language you are looking at. So that's it. That's the only principle as far as subject verb agreement is concerned. Agreement between the verb and the subject. That's all. There's nothing complicated here. No concept needs to be explained here. The only principle here is that make sure your verb agrees with your subject. And in the case of English, this agreement has to be based on two things, mainly the number of the subject, which is based on whether it is singular or plural. And the second thing is the person, right? Whether the given subject is in first person, second person, or third person. That's all. Okay. I don't think I'll have to give you the split because most of you will know. And the only change you will see is in the case of simple present tense, because for past tense and future tense, anyway, there is a marker. So she lived in Germany and I lived in Germany. Okay. She will go to the college tomorrow. I will go to the college tomorrow. There's no much of a difference, right? So there's no much change. Only in the case of simple present tense, you will have a change in the third person, right? Third person is he, she, it with an S. So he, she, it lives or goes or does or whatever. And rest of it will be all without the suffix. That's all. So that the only challenge would be there. But this is not the actual challenge with subject verb agreement, right? The subject verb agreement is a lot about the answers to the questions in subject verb agreement is a lot based on your knowledge of the subject. So the questions that you see on your screen, some of them are simple because we are going to look at plain. Just a moment. Okay. Right. So we have a set of questions which we are going to look at. But when you're looking at these questions for solving them, I particularly want you to focus on the kind of subjects we are using, right? More than whether the answer is right or wrong. I want you to look at what are the different kinds of subjects that are possible in English, right? So that's one thing, mostly, right? So we'll start looking at the questions. I think that will help us better. Let's start with the first one then. You have Millie and her brothers are at school. Now, this is what kind of subject is this? This subject is called a compound subject. So whenever you have more than one subject put together in a combination, we call them compound subjects. And if it is a compound subject, then definitely there will be this connector and between them, right? So Millie and her brothers, right? So this one is an example of a compound subject. Okay, Millie and her brother. So do you think now compound subject? Do you think it's a plural subject or a singular subject?
Plural.
Plural, right? So if anything is compound, yeah, correct. If anything is compound, then definitely it is plural, right? So then what would be the answer? Is or are? What is it? Sorry, did not hear you. Will you say Millie and brothers is at school or are at school?
Are
subject is singular, then verb also has to be singular, right? If it's plural, then the verb also has to be plural, right? So that's the difference. Okay, so that's the first question. Compound subject, plural subject, hence the verb also has to be plural, so we use are. Second one, now this is important. Either my mother or my father. Is this a compound subject? Are we saying that there are two people, or are we saying that one of the two people? What are we saying?
One of the two people.
One of the two, right? So when I say one of the two, it means that your subject is singular. We are mentioning two, but then we are giving an alternative, right? We're mostly making a selection between one among the two. So there is only, the actual subject is only one person, right? So the subject here is singular, and hence the verb also has to be singular. Either my mother or my father is or are coming to the meeting. Is coming to the meeting, right? Now, this will have a bit of permutations combination. So, usually when you have selection-based subjects like this, when there is a, either or situation, then by rule, what you do is you look at the number of the subject that is closer to the verb, right? So if the subject that is closer to the verb is singular, then the verb also becomes singular. If it is plural, then the verb also becomes plural. Okay, so this is the next question will help you understand what I just said. The dog or the cats are outside, right? So again, there seems to be like a selection being made, right? Or there's a flavor of choice or alternative, right? So presence, only one of it can happen. It's not both. So definitely the treatment is a singular, but look at the subject that is closer to the verb. The cats, right? So if that is the case, then the verb has to be by rule singular or plural, because your subject is plural here. The one that is closer to the verb is plural. So your verb has to be then what?
Plural.
Plural, right? It has to be also plural. So the dog or the cats are outside. Okay. The dog or the cats are outside. If I reverse it, the cats or the dog, then
Singular. Yes.
singular. So you say is, right? So the cats or the dog is outside. The dog or the cats are outside. Okay, so that's how it works. Fourth one, either my shoes or your coat are always on the floor.
Yes.
Is, right? Because what? Coat, the one that is closer to the verb is singular. So either my shoes or your coat is always on the floor. Is shoe singular or plural? Shoes. A pair of shoes or simply shoes. You treat shoes as singular subject or plural subject?
Plural.
Okay. Shoes are always going to be plural, right? Because the actual you is a pair of shoes, right? So that is, shoes would always be treated as plural, either my shoes or your coat. You reverse it, you'll have either my coat, either your coat or to are, okay? In this case, however, it is because the coat which is closer to the verb is singular. Okay. Fifth one, George and Tamara don't want to see that movie. What kind of subject is this, George and Tamara?
Compound.
Compound. So basically a plural subject, right? So what's the answer then? George and Tamara doesn't or don't?
Don't.
Don't, right? Don't. George and Tamara don't want to see that movie. Okay. Benito don't know the answer. It should be simple. Singular subject, so doesn't know the answer, right? Doesn't know the answer. Seventh one of my sisters are going on a trip to France. One of my sisters. So the person has several sisters, but only one among them. So subject is singular or plural?
Singular.
Singular subject, because one of my friends, right? Sorry, one of my sisters. So one of my sisters is going on a trip to France. Eighth one, the man with all the birds lives on my street. The man with all the birds lives on my street.
Lives.
Man with all the birds. Yeah. Why not live? What is the subject of this sentence?
A man.
The man, right? The man is your subject. You will see with all the birds and all that in between, but then this is not a. Just a moment. What happened to the cursor? Okay. Okay. You have something like this in between, right? With all the birds, right? Although this can, create problems for some of us, not all of us. Some people will definitely know that this is the difference. But remember that when you're looking at subject verb agreement, nothing that interferes between or no phrases or clauses or sentences that interferes between the verb and the subject will affect them, right? The verb only agrees with the subject of the sentence, no matter how much of matter you put in between. Like in this case, right? The man with all the birds living in the 7th Street, who works at a college. You can add as many phrases and clauses as you want in between these two. Yet the verb will only agree with the number of the actual subject of the sentence, which in this case is the man. Man is singular, hence you use the singular form of verb, which is lives, right? So nothing that interferes between these two can break this agreement pattern, right? Verb always agrees with the number and person of the actual subject of the sentence. The man with all the birds lives on my street, right? You remove with all the birds in between also, still the sentence will be grammatical and it will still make sense. The man lives on my street, right? So if you get confused with questions like this, then try to do this exercise. Try removing that phrase and see if the sentence still remains grammatical. Okay. The next one, the next two questions are same. They work the similar way. Take a look. The movie, including all the previews, takes about 2 hours to watch. The movie, including all the previews, takes about 2 hours to watch. So take or takes?
Takes.
Takes, right? The movie is singular, hence it has to be takes. The movie, including all the previews, takes about 2 hours to watch. The players as well as the captain wants to win. Want to win, right? Because what is the condition here? The players is a plural subject. So of course your subject has to agree with the plural subject here. Sorry, verb has to agree with the plural subject here. So the players as well as the captain want to win. 11th one, either answer is are acceptable. Either answer is are acceptable.
Is acceptable.
So why are we using is acceptable and not are?
Because we're talking about one of the two options.
Yeah. So either functions as a singular subject, right? Either you're talking about making one selection, right? Not both in the sense. You're saying you can choose one among this, but whichever one you choose would be right. But you can choose only one. That's the idea. Either answer is acceptable, right? Okay. Every one of those books is our fiction. Every one of those books is our fiction. So there's a name for these. These are all pronouns. If you don't already know, either or constructions. Every one of, each one of. These are all kind of constructions, right? They're all pronouns, and these pronouns are called distributive pronouns. Okay, so they're called distributive pronouns. Every one of these books, do we say is or are?
Is.
Same thing here. Yeah, is. Okay, so every one of those books. Now this can look like a plural subject, maybe because you think that, okay, we are talking about books, right? You're talking about all the books. Okay, and saying that they're fiction. Yes, that is true. But when you say every one of those books, the reference is to every single unit among that group, right? We're talking about all of them, but all of them individually as separate units. So still, even though we are talking about the whole set, since the reference is to individual units among them, the subject still remains singular. Okay, so every one of those books is fiction, not our fiction. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Now, what kind of pronouns are these? Nobody, anybody, somebody, everybody, everywhere, everything, everybody. These are called indefinite pronouns. Okay, indefinite. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Okay, nobody knows the trouble. So all your distributive and indefinite pronouns are going to be singular subjects. Okay. I didn't want to tell this to you right in the beginning because that's not how you learn. We'll have to look at the questions and decide upon that. Okay. But since we are at it, I think it's not harmful to talk about it. All distributive indefinite pronouns, right? What are indefinite ones? The ones like nobody, anybody, anyone, no one, somebody, someone, everybody, everyone, right? All of these, they're all called indefinite pronouns, right? Distributive ones are either each one of us, every one of us, right? All of these are called distributive ones, right? So both these kind of pronouns, when they appear as subjects in a sentence, they're always going to take singular verbs with them. So nobody knows the trouble I have seen. Okay. Next is based on the countable and non-countable nouns. Are the news at 5 or 6? News is singular or plural?
Singular.
Yeah, we treat it as a singular noun, right? Does it have a plural form? No. News is always singular. No, there are certain nouns which are always singular. They don't have a plural form. So your news is one such that. So news is singular, hence is or are is, right? Is the news at 5 or 6. Same thing applies to certain other words. So names of, subjects like mathematics, civics and all that. Mathematics is John's favorite subject?
Is.
Similarly, civics also, right? Civics is Andrea's favorite subject. So although because of the presence of the S, people sometimes would confuse it to be a plural form. But remember that all of these, they only have singular forms. There's no plural form for any of these. Okay. Okay, 16th is also a question that is important. $8 are the price of a movie these days. $8 are the price of a movie these days. Is, right? Answer is $8 is the price of a movie. This is why not are? Why can't we say $8 are the price of a movie? Because $8 is countable, right? Why not are? The reason is that, see, here we are not referring to, the whole $8 in the sense that it's countable. We're saying using $8 as the price tag. Okay, it's more nominal in function here. So price tag for that movie. Okay, $8 is the price, right? So you don't say are the price because we're not doing a counting activity here. There's nothing that includes counting here. We're simply mentioning the price of something. So it's standing instead of the price tag itself. So $8 is then not functioning as a countable noun here. It is functioning as the name of something. Positively, the name price tag for the movie ticket, right? So $8 is the price of a movie these days is basically that. Next, what you have here is 17th one, which says, are the tweezers in the drawer? are the tweezers in this drawer. So tweezers, again, like shoes and all, you have tweezers, scissors, pants, jeans. They all come in pairs, right? So are they treated singular or plural?
A plural.
They're all treated as plural. Okay. No, 1 second. No. They're not treated as plural. You look at it carefully. Tweezers. Do you say are the tweezers in this drawer, or do you say is the tweezers in this drawer? You say is. Okay. So we don't read them as they again the same thing, like mathematics or news or $8. Because of the presence of the test, this might look like a plural thing. But in reality, what is the number for this one? Tweezers, fans, are they single units or are they like more than one unit?
A single unit.
Single, right? So you have to say is the tweezers in this drawer? Is the scissors in this drawer? Not are the scissors in this drawer. Okay, they're a single unit. Of course, there is a pairing because it cannot work without the two pairs, right? But even though that is the case, they work as a single unit, right? They cannot, with one hand, they cannot work. Tweezer or tweezer or scissors, right? These things only function when both the part are present. So even though there's an element of plurality, they still will function since they function as a singular unit. The idea of scissors is singular. Okay. So same with tweezers. Is the tweezers in this drawer? Pants again, okay, you cannot have a pant with just one leg, right? You need to have both of it together. So your pants is at the cleaners, not are at the cleaners. Okay. 19th one, there were 15 candles in that bag.
Were.
What's the answer? Were. Here it is clear, it is countable, right? They're independent units, you can count them as 15. Clear-cut case of a countable noun and plural. So you're using the plural form of verb were. Now there is our only one left. Now there is our only one left. Is, right? Now there is only one left. Okay, countable one. So it is this. 20th one, the committee debate these questions carefully. The committee debates. So committee, is it singular or plural?
Singular.
Singular. It is treated as a singular noun. It is a collective noun. Committee is basically a collective noun, and all collective nouns are treated singular. Keep this in mind. Okay, collective nouns are always singular. We never use them as plural. Okay, in certain cases, like, but they are more modern usage. If you look back at the history of collective nouns, usually most of the collective nouns are used as plural nouns, except for a few exceptions, and that exceptions have come in because of the modern day usage. Besides them, all your collective nouns are treated as singular units. Okay, and so is the case with committee. Committee is a collective noun, and this is a plural. Sorry, it's a singular subject. The committee. So will you say debates or debate them? The committee debate these questions carefully.
Debates.
Debates, right? Debates these questions carefully. Now, the committee members lead very different lives in private. Now your subject has become plural, right? So it's not the committee anymore. Now we are talking about the members of the committee or the committee members, if you want to. Members of the committee is more formal. The committee members are more like an informal use. Both are same though. So here we have a plural subject, hence your verb would be leads or lead.
Lead.
Lead, right? So this is the plural one. Lead. The committee members lead very different lives in private. 22nd one, the Prime Minister, together with his wife, greet the press cordially. The Prime Minister, together with his wife, greet the press cordially. Subject, the main subject is the main subject here is the Prime Minister, right? Which is singular subject. So your verb has to be then greets, right? Singular form of greet, greets. The Prime Minister, together with his wife, greets the press cordially. Last one, all of the CDs, even the scratched one, are in this case. All of the CDs, even the
Are.
scratched one, are in this case, right? Here are in the case because we're talking about all, right? All is the whole lot. So when the moment you say all of something, then this is also all of is also like a distributive pronoun, right? All of X, all of Y. But in every other case, you saw that it is singular. But since the moment you use the word all of, or all for that matter, automatically the subject becomes plural. So in this case, you're going to use a plural verb. All of the series, even the scratched one, are in this case. Okay. Okay. So those questions are basically a mix of, the kind of subjects that you can find in English. The second exercise is particularly with respect to the distributive pronouns, particularly everyone, everybody, and everything. Okay. That is what we are going to look at in this one. So 10 questions on this, and I think we should be good to go with the subject verb agreement part. I'm not going to discuss right away anything, although I think I've already told you how it works, but I would like you to take a look at the questions and then come to the conclusion on how these kind of subjects work, okay? So where did everyone goes this afternoon?
Goes.
Where did everyone goes this afternoon? Goes. Where did everyone goes this afternoon? Or do you say, where did everyone go this afternoon? Yeah, tell me, go or goes? The answer is go, okay, not goes. I'll come back to explaining why this is the case. We are going to look at the other examples, other sentences, and then come and see why this particular sentence is different from the rest of the sentence. Okay, the answer here is go. Where did everyone go this afternoon? That is the answer. Look at the second one. Sometimes it feels like everyone on social media are having more fun than us.
Is having more fun.
Okay. Is or are, you say is having more fun than us. Okay. Anybody with any other answers? Do you have an objection to this? It is okay. So in this case also you will have to use the same technique, right? Which is not technique. It is basically how languages function. When you have a distributive pronoun like this, I told you that the verb has to be singular. Sometimes it feels like everyone on social media is having more fun, not are having more fun. Okay? Everyone on social media is having more fun than us. Okay. Can you believe that every one of our car tires are flat today? Can you believe that every one of our car tires are flat today?
Is flat today.
Yeah, so where is that? Every one of her car tires are flat today. What is this? Is, right? Is flat today, because here this is a distributive, every one of her car tires. So why are we saying is here? Because the Reference is individual, right? So we are referring to each car tire separately, talking about each of them, okay, every one of them separately, which is why the reference, subject reference here is singular. Hence, we use the verb is and not are, okay? Each and every one of the stars in the sky has emitted light for millions of years. Same. So what is the answer?
Has.
Has, right? So same thing. The reference is to singular units, to individual things. So which is why we'll have to use the singular verb here again. So each and every one of the stars, independent individual reference of the stars in the sky has emitted light for millions of years. Okay, each one of them have done that independently. That is the idea. Every one of my Google searches mentions or mention how everyone is or are obsessed with the new actor. Okay, let's look at the first part. Every one of my Google searches mentions or mention. Every one of my Google searches mentions, right? But this is the same thing. It functions like how you saw the third and the fourth question. It has to be the same way. Every one of my Google searches, again, you are referring to independent individual searches. So mentions, okay? How everyone are obsessed with the new actor.
Is obsessed.
Is obsessed, right? Again, distributive pronoun. Everyone is obsessed with the new actor. If every one of my Google searches mentions how everyone is obsessed with the new actor. Okay. Now everybody know the truth.
Knows.
Knows, right? Same logic. So you're going to use knows because everybody is distributive and we know that they only take singular verbs. Okay. At night with the lights shining on the water, everything look different.
Looks different.
Looks different, right? Same thing. Subject is unit reference. So of course you have to use looks. Night with the light shining on the water, everything looks different. Okay. Next one, you have, I couldn't get a seat. Everywhere was or were so crowded.
Was
Everywhere
so crowded.
was, yeah, everywhere was so crowded. You don't say everywhere were crowded. Everywhere was so crowded. Okay. Then comes, which one is the next one? Yeah, she knows everybody in the room. She knows. She knows everybody in the room. Correct. Last one, his name was Henry, but everyone calls him Henry.
Calls.
Okay, so everyone calls him Henry. So we saw that in each of these cases, whether they were, distributive pronouns of the nature of each and every one of or every one of and all that, or, if it was everybody or everyone and everything, we have been consistently using singular verbs with them. And that is the case with all your distributive pronouns and your indefinite pronouns. The verb is always singular. The subjects are always singular in that case, and so is the verb. But what is the problem with this first question that we discussed? Why did we not say why did everyone goes this afternoon, and why is it go? What do you think would be a possible answer? Why are we not using goes there? Because as per the rule, then it should have been everyone goes. Right? What do you think is the answer? We just discussed that and we'll end this session because this is something that is important. You should know grammatically what is happening there and why we use go and not goes.
Is it because in the second example we use everyone as in every one of the people on social media, and in the
Okay.
first one we use it like to denote all of them at the same time?
Even there, it is the reference is same. The moment I say everyone, again, my reference is to everybody, like the whole set of people, but reference is to individuals among that all groups. So that is the case in the first sentence also. When I ask where did everyone go, I mean individually where did my reference is to individuals among that group. Okay, say I'm going to my home, right? I have 4 or 5 people and I go there and I don't find most of them. There's one person I would ask, where did everyone go? Okay, so by which I mean, yes, 3 or 4 people are missing here. Of course, it's plural, but my intention is also to ask where, individually each of them go, right? Where have they all gone? That is the idea. References to the unit person in this case as well. It is not got to do with the meaning. It is more to do with the structure in English, right? So this is interesting. And the reason is, the first difference that you should have noted is that others are mostly sentences, barring 3, right? But we are not taking 3 because it is an interrogative sentence, but then it's a different kind of interrogative sentence. It's not a content interrogative. It is what we call as a subject. What is it called? Yes or no question, right? Can you believe? Whenever you have an auxiliary beginning used in the beginning as a question, we call it a yes or no question. Okay. Can you believe that every one of her cars? This is more like an auxiliary based question. And can is also like a model auxiliary. I'm talking particularly about the questions which have the WH words, right? Where did, what did, how did, which, okay, all of your WH words, they are called WH questions. They work in a very different way in English. Okay. So the reason is, if you look at the sentence, I don't think you are not there to explain that difference. For that, you will have to look at the structure of the sentences closely. I'll tell you the reason why we say everyone go in the first sentence and not everyone goes, because see, in question sentences in English, usually in a sentence, where do you find the tense of the verb? Tense of the sentence. Which part of the sentence carries the tense in English? What carries the tense in a sentence?
The verb, no?
The verb, right? The verb. But in question sentences, actually, when you form a question in English, the tense and the verb get separated, right? So that is the reason. So where did everyone go this afternoon? Basically, did is your past tense marker, right? This is or whatever marker. It's the past tense marker, but let's just call it the tense marker. So tense is not on the verb here, right? It is separated. Okay, so what you see here is basically a tenseless verb because the tense is already separated out. In other cases, when it is in a sentence, it is already present on the verb that is used. Hence, it is easier for you to decide. But in the case of an interrogative sentence, since the tense is separated out of the verb is found independently. Go is what? Go is basically the bare form of the verb. It actually doesn't have any tense on it. Okay. Go is just a bare form of the verb in the interrogative sentence. Where did everyone go this afternoon? So it's not between go and goes. It is basically just using the bare form of the verb go. That go doesn't have any tense on it. Unlike in, the cases like second or third or fourth, where you had the tense on the verb itself, right? This is the reason why we have used go there. So the concept is still the same. We don't see goes there and just go, because that go there is a bare form. It is without any tense. Tense is already taken by did. Okay, tense is separated. That's the reason why we don't use goes there. Okay, that is a technical explanation. Okay, I can simply say that in interrogative sentences, this doesn't work like that, but that's not a good explanation, right? You could ask why. So if your question is why, the reason is this. In interrogative sentences, you always have the verb and the tense separated from each other. So the go and goes that you see here is actually nothing, no tense is there. It's only the bare form of the verb. But in all other cases, when you see the verb, the tense is already attached to that verb. Okay, that's the reason it functions differently. I hope I have given you some explanation. Of course, I know you need a little more background knowledge to understand, but I think this is well and fair. Okay. The reason why the question of goes never comes there because we are not even talking about tense in that place. It's simply the bare verb that's sitting there without any tense. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's all. Any question? Any question that you have from this part, or I think this is mostly easy. It is technical, but it is also like the easiest part of the grammar in English. So no much confusion should prevail. As far as the exams are concerned, you need to be mindful of the kind of subjects you have in English. If you have a good command on what all types of subjects you can encounter, for example, compound subjects or distributed subjects, right? Like, for example, either or kind of constructions. And then your distributive subjects like everyone, everybody, nobody, no one, someone, distributive is either of my sisters or each one of every one of, these kind of distributive subjects. And then the indefinite pronoun ones, which are nobody, somebody, someone, anyone, anybody, everybody, everything. These are some of the subject variations that you can find in English. So if you have a good understanding of these subjects and also the other ones, right? Like tweezers and pans and all that, and collective nouns, most of them are what? They all work as singular subjects, right? They're all singular subjects, although they look like plural because of the presence of this S and sir sound and all that. They're still very much singular. If you have an understanding of the subject part, then you certainly will not go wrong on the questions related to subject verb agreement. Okay. All that you need to know is get some practice on the kinds of subjects. Otherwise, everything should be fine. Okay. Right. All right. So that's all for today's class. If you have any questions, you may ask, or if not, then we'll wind up for today. We'll meet next week again. Next week, I think I'll most probably discuss the stress and aspiration and simplification with you. Okay. All right. If there are no questions, we'll log out. You can log out of the meeting. I'll stop sharing the screen and also stop the recording. Thank you for joining, and we'll meet again next week.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much.